when we don't know what it is to be a human being first. So how it is that we are social, that we are all one-on-one, that we are all collective. And there's also the systems which we created. Those are our creation. Oh, easy to update systems. I always say, update system. Don't revolution or do anything or kill the system. No, update the system from looking at generalization of, man, human, sex, religion. And that is the new art consciousness. It's that we focus on creation because that it helps in the art creation, helps us in every other creation too, whatever we want to create.
Welcome to the Polymath Podcast, highlighting your multidisciplinary life, showcasing that it's okay to do many different things. Hello, I'm Dustin, PolyInnovator. Today I'm talking with Michaell Magrutsche. He is a multimedia art professional, author, founder of the self-aware art movement, podcaster, and overall interesting person. And at this point, you probably have, 5 books under your belt?
Yeah,
3 books?
6 books, and I haven't published the 6 and 7 I've done, but it's not published.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's it. That's it.
We're going to get into a lot of that, I think, today. And it's interesting to think about just how much you have created over the course of your life, whether it's content or art or written books. What was your mindset 5 years ago, and how have you changed since then?
My mindset was very simple for now, but till 52, it was different. When before 52, I was, like whatever systemically we all do. Be hard, do what everybody else does, what is successful, don't do what is not successful. And instead of saying, you are one of 8 billion people, the most power you have is being that one of one. And when I got that, it really, really, nothing changed. I didn't get a girlfriend or lots of money or anything, but I all of a sudden was happy in the moment, just enjoying the moment and allowing things to happen. And before 52, I had to have a plan, a goal, thing. And it was so hard. Living was so hard. And actually, I must say, I have actually less financial and things today, but I'm happier.
Mm-hmm. Are you closer to your ikigai then?
I wouldn't take a guy. Would it's okay, but it still is a generalization. Okay. It's a generalization. You have to be you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. In your mind, what does it mean to be you?
You have a frequency that is one of one. And that frequency, when you play like what we're doing right now, we dance with each other. You can see, okay, oh my God, Dustin, I cannot fight Dustin. He's so strong. Or Dustin is a really nice person. Oh, he likes dogs too. So you learn a lot from the play, and then you see how you fit synergistically versus on a linear level. Oh, what can I get from Justin? How much money can I get from him? How many viewers on the podcast? What can I get? How does Dustin make me better than him? And that's, I hope that gives you enough information.
I think it's about really kind of connecting on a deeper level rather than seeing what you can get out of that person.
Mm-hmm. And also thinking human-centric, where everybody is one-on-one, versus system-relevant, where it's a generalization. Oh, you're a man too, so you're dirty. All men are dirty. Oh, you're a woman. All women want the man's money. Oh, your race, that's that. And, so it's not a generalization, but it's actually whatever it is, because there's good white people and bad white people. There's everybody's any variation, and it has nothing to do how you look. See, in systems, it's important how you look. It's all the looks. That's why everybody wants to look differently, or everybody adapts to working out or, doing something. And in nature, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, you do,
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting to me because I definitely consider myself a systems thinker. I live in systems. I create systems for my knowledge management. We all do. But it's also interesting how we also need to be more freeform, more true to ourselves. We can't be reliant just too much on the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we cannot absolute the system. The system wants to be absolute because it generalizes. So it wants to say right or wrong, good or bad. Yeah, but there's not, humans are not, we are nonlinear. We are not linear beings. The nature doesn't, there's no straight line in nature, but we can make it up with our minds on a drawing board or something.
And it's interesting you mentioned the nonlinear, because one of my questions here is actually about Perry's octopus movement too. How did you join up with that?
A friend of mine told me about Perry, and I was totally amazed because it does do the one-on-oneness. It doesn't matter what you are. I mean, in the meetings and everything, we just, you just are. And it's for some reason also Perry Perry is a real talent in allowing people to dance with each other, and that's what attracted me to it. And I'm on the board for the human centricity, where I want to make sure that that doesn't wash out. And so sometimes I'm very hard, because when we get too systemic in that, and we can't be too systemic. I'm not saying don't be systemic, but not make systems more relevant than our humanity.
And the idea of being hard versus soft too is also an interesting concept, because I think a lot of people, they get too extreme in some ways. They're either too soft and they keep getting pushed around externally, don't have enough internal movement. But sometimes some people are so hard and rigid in their life that they don't let things happen.
Yeah, and that's also systemically, because political correctness is softness, right? Everybody's equal, whatever. No, not everybody's equal, because we all one-on-one, and that's different. That's not equal. So to make equality of a generalization versus, what we are by nature, because nature made us equal, but the equality of nature that nature made us is everybody's a one-on-one. It's not all the races. It's not all the system generalization that are mixed and say, Asians are higher than white people. And that's a generalization. That's not even the truth.
People have the capacity for greatness regardless of
it doesn't matter. Kind of thing. No.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. What matters is the person individually themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you get into the world of art?
Because I couldn't do school. I mean, I went to school at 7, and then I couldn't understand it. I couldn't regurgitate it. I understood it very well. I'm good with humans always, but I couldn't understand. And also, I think it's tremendous challenge to talk about a context of something, mathematics or something. You talk about a context, and then you have to figure out what the teacher wants you to say. Where's the truth in that? Because you probably can say the solution in 100 different ways, and you have to figure out which all conditions us to say, what is the market looking for? What in this culture, what do I have to do?
And again, regurgitating that information over and over again.
And I couldn't. I am always me in every moment. I'm not the same. When you ask me the same question 2 days ago, I might answer something different.
I think actually when I was talking to Perry at one point, he said something very similar to that, where it's like a year from now, we'll say the exact same question, but the answer will be completely different.
Exactly. Because there's no order in that, unless we have agreement. There would be an order in an agreement that said, when I show up, you show up, and that's an agreement. Otherwise we would never meet each other,
And it's interesting too, because I really resonate with you when it comes to schooling. I always considered myself kind of a scholar, but never an academic. Yeah. And because of that, I struggled in school too.
Yeah.
Probably, maybe not as much so, but still.
No, you're absolutely right. When we don't know what it is to be a human being first. So how it is that we are social, that we all one-on-one, that we are all collective. And there's also the systems which we created. Those are our creation, like, a nation, a city, a town, a tribe. Mm-hmm. Those are things. And then a religion, whatever. Those are collective creation. And these creations, generalizing, because, this is for more humans, not just, I'm not building a religion for me. So I'm building a religion for, to help people. So all the things is always good to start. The start is always good intent. But then when the religion gets longer, or the system has longer, or the Google gets longer, or whatever gets longer, then the stuff happens that the system gets more important than the one-on-one human. It gets more important. It gets more taking your life as granted versus, wow, this is Dustin. He's one of 8 billion people. Wow, what a privilege to meet him.
Mm-hmm. And the idea too that because we're such a global society, that system we created, there is this kind of factor of, because we have different nations, we can kind of have a certain understanding of what a person's like. But even if you think that person in that country across the world might not be who you think it is, purely based, like I'm American, you might think that, Americans are fat and lazy, but then you meet me and I'm not fat and lazy.
Yeah.
Maybe lazy sometimes, but not lazy all the time. And it just kind of, it throws off your perception. We can't live based off that preconception.
And also there's no laziness in nature, right? Laziness is, I think, is also system generated, and it's basically to get to work. So if I can, it's shaming you to work. Laziness is shaming you to work, because when you do a job that is not you, that is not aligned with your one-on-oneness, obviously you're not going to be, oh my God, I'm making a podcast. Like now you're like, I'm making a podcast. That's you. But you say, hey, we got to get those conveyor belts they're straightened and whatever. You might say, oh my God, I can't handle this, And then the system says, okay, you're lazy, because the other guys put the conveyor belts on way faster than you. And you were the lazy one. So it's a shaming, the system shaming. Yeah, you're lazy.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Meaning there's no laziness in nature, right? There is also no definition what work is. You're an ant, you work as an ant. You're an elephant, you work as an elephant. The ant and the elephant are not different. And when the elephant wants to just munch or do something, and he munches and do something, that is not lazy. Lazy is a negative judgment of a person not doing their job. Yeah, but when the job is wrong, how can it be this the right job? This is the wrong job for you. It's not that you're lazy. What's the real is this a system problem. This person, you have given this job to this person, which is not correct. This needs to be aligned. And it's not. And so you judge them, because systems never take a responsibility. Even in atomic wars or anything we create, it's always the humans who are the bad people, even though the systems created the wars. And so we just say, oh, sorry. And then lazy is the other thing, is just saying, hey, don't be lazy, do your job. Yeah. If the job was the right job, I wouldn't be lazy. Do you see that?
How can we get more aligned with that job that we should have? Like, we don't always know what that will be, but how do you think we can get more aligned?
Easy to update systems. I always say, update system. Don't revolution or do anything or kill the system. No. Update the system from looking at generalization of, man, human, sex, religion, to no, everybody's one-on-one. Okay, he's also a Christian or he's also a Buddhist, but he's one-on-one. Dustin is not just defined by being a man, being a Christian, being this. What do you get out? I mean, these are three things that billions of people can be, white and being Christian and whatever. I mean, you get nothing. I don't know anything. If I define you as that, I get nothing out. And that's the outdated system. In the old days, it was working, but now we need to update. Dustin is one-on-one. Also, he's a Christian. So how does that reflect to everything? And put it in the right context.
It kind of goes back to what you're saying earlier about the whole tribes and cities thing, because we kind of identify ourselves with where we live and who we live near. But that, like you said, especially with the 8 billion people, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger as humanity goes on, that is not a good enough definition of who a person is.
And it's actually slower, because by the end of the century, we have 3 billion less people. So it's getting actually lower, but still 5 billion people is a lot. It's a lot of people, and they're a lot of one. And when you don't look at humans that way, you really don't appreciate humans ever, because you just, it's another woman, it's another man. I just need another guy that can do the job.
I was thinking kind of in the sense of multi-planetary human species. Like, I figured we're going to continue on and keep propagating, that kind of thing.
We're not going to keep propagating, because the people that want to go to Mars are not the people that have, except Elon, that has 12 kids.
Yeah.
But other than that, nobody has a lot of kids,
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of the mindset behind people like you and I, we kind of have this global understanding, like, okay, we are a human species. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't really matter what ethnicity you are from. We are all people. And whether you're a linear thinker or non-linear thinker, you should be treated as a person. And I love how you've been able to do interviews, 160 plus worldwide. How did that feel?
390.
390? I looked at an outdated
that was the old
description. Yeah. Oh man, 390. So even more so. Yeah. How did you get started on that, and how did they feel, considering you've done so many?
Great. great, because everybody's a one-on-one. If I just looked at, and that's why I talk about 60 topics, from leadership, teamwork, education, neurodiversity. I'm talking from all political things, because I talk to the person, and even, let's say you and I talk about art. My talk to you about art will be different than to anybody else, because you're one-on-one. But if I want to just lecture you and say, okay, first stop, step 1, step 2, step 3, then it will be very boring, and all this will be the same. But I always focus on the one-on-oneness and then dance with that.
Like, for example, my background in art is generally more graphics design and digital art versus more hand-drawn art. And so your understanding of how you communicate to me might be different because of that. With the interviews, like, I've done 70 or 80 remote interviews at this point, and so obviously, like, only a fourth of what you've done. But it was interesting, even the patterns that I saw with that, where I have, like you said, multiple different things to talk about. And certain interviews, I talk about one thing. Certain interviews, I talk about one thing.
Exactly.
And again, the lens is different. But some interviews, I get a chance to talk about multiple things in one. And that's the ones I feel like I'm most like myself, more true to myself. Do you have a similar experience like that?
I have a similar experience. I mean, it helps to, when somebody really needs to talk about, what it is to have law, what it is to be a leader, what is, it helps, but it doesn't help really when the person is not flexible. So when the person is flexible, you can have what you want. But the most people, especially in law, so the people are very linear, very binary,
I find that I try to make this show, the reason being behind it is, like, a lot of the times people who come on here, they might be like you, who know they're nonlinear, know they might be polymathic. Sometimes they see themselves as a specialist, though, even though they are more of a generalist. And I try to highlight the multifaceted life that they've created at that point. And I can see the light in their eyes kind of like light up and just feel like, okay, I feel seen, kind of thing. That's the intention behind the show. So hopefully I can happen to you too. But
I agree with this. We are all multi-level. We are all, because humanity and humans and nature is nonlinear. But we need to have the linearity too. So that's why I don't like to prefer nonlinear, even though I know that's nature and that's human. I say we need both, because in our system, art, these are collective artworks, I think, our systems. And you see it still in the old churches and synagogues and stuff. But I think we need to come back and also update that systems are our artworks, collective artworks. And when we do that, and when we see them like that, they will actually function better. And also it will be better to when you go to social services today, it's like as cold as it can be. Versus how would they say it? So you go there and say, "Oh, Dustin, come here. Let's talk. Here's some candy, whatever. How to deal with something. You need to go to the bathroom right there. I mean, how can you just be more human in treating what you represent, And social services represent the for every human the same.
One thing that also comes to mind too is, like, you were saying how you kind of avoid the nonlinear sometimes too, because we do have to be linear. It's interesting when you say updating our systems.
Did I say that? I'm very human-centric, but I'm not not be linear, because we have in the octopus movement extremely linear people that can't even be non-linear.
Right.
Yeah, they are extremely linear. No.
I was just trying to highlight the fact that, like, even nonlinear people sometimes need to have linear expressions too at times, and focusing on that, but also having both.
Exactly, having both. Everybody has both. That is the thing is, when somebody doesn't appear to be nonlinear, they adapt so much to the linearity and they have so much energy. And we, as hypersensitive, we don't have the energy. Nonlinear, as a dyslexic, neurodiverse people, we don't have the energy. We cannot adjust. But if you have the energy and you can appear to be linear, good for you. But it's not either or. It's both. Humans need the linearity and the nonlinearity.
Something there, you kind of almost said that neurodivergent people are nonlinear people are neurodivergent. Do you think there's a correlation or causation there at all?
No, there's no difference. I think there's no difference. They're just sensitive. More nonlinear people, the differentiation between neurotypical and nonlinear and neurodiverse people is only that the neurodiverse cannot pretend. They don't have enough energy to pretend to be linear. The neurotypical are linear because they have enough energy to play linear and to fix in the system. They get their juice into being binary and linear. But it is no difference. I think there's no difference.
I was thinking too, like, but linear people or neurotypical people could also still be nonlinear, though.
Absolutely.
So
no, I think
okay.
we are all.
Just want to clarify.
Both. We are all both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to make sure we clarify there. And I was curious because I've had this conversation before with some people too when it comes to neurodiversity, because I definitely think there's a connection there, like you're saying, when obviously we're both. Everyone's going to be both. But I think that a lot of neurodivergent people are just more naturally nonlinear because of, like you said, the energy level. So the way you explained it was super helpful. So I think a lot of people haven't heard that before. That's going to help them realize, okay, this is where I can kind of aim towards next. When you say updating the system, it kind of makes me think of like updating the BIOS on the motherboard. Exactly. Sometimes you have to do that in order for things to be more efficient.
What is the most human-centric tool? The cell phone. And how often is that updated to keep up to date every day? Pretty much every day. So like the BIOS, it has to update. It's like you want to go because we grow. No BIOS needs to update when humans don't grow. If we were static humans, right? And we're just linear static and that's it. You know, you're Dustin, I'm Michael, that's it. And we don't grow. We just do the same old job and everything. Then there's no need to update or not so much. But even that, we grow. Even if we are the same, we grow because you grow a lot when you're in prison. You grow there too. And they say, what is that to grow in prison? You're just in your cell and nothing. No, there's a lot. So there's nothing ever the same. And because nothing is ever the same, the system's supposed to catch up. But when the systems which are driven by it's never enough, no matter what, the financial principle before even capitalism and communism says all the financial principles, they're supposed to be binary, right? They good or bad, right or wrong. They say it's never enough, no matter what you do. So we making 10 grand today. Dustin, thank you. Handshake. Tomorrow we have to do 12 grand. You know, it's never enough. When you don't have an opposite to bring enoughness in, you can't even enjoy your 10 grand. You just keep going. You're going. And your life escapes you. You're not in this life, you know.
Kind of like referring to the rat race there in a way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One thing it keeps making me think of too is this digital renaissance of sorts that we're in now, and how generalists and nonlinear people are able to adapt a lot more effectively to all the different changes that are happening. Whereas when you're more linear thinking, it makes it harder for you to adapt to these new updates that are happening so much.
Because the digital world, the third thing, so human centricity is nature, right? We are 101, nature, and we are the creator of system. That's the second environment or system we are. And then from the system, it's still based on natural values and resources and whatever. Then there's the digital world. And the digital world is the third and is the most obstructed thing from human centricity, because you can take a Superman avatar and say that's Dustin. You don't have to put your picture or anything. You can be a furry, anime furry,
and whatever you want.
Yeah, and whatever thing. No, and it wouldn't be 101 because everybody is something different. So, and it's a referration. It's not you, but I can make a dot of paint there and say that's me. So the digital world is, and this is my example that I say, the attention business in the digital world, like marketing, getting followers, getting all that stuff, has beaten petrochemicals in money. And but when you think about it, it's insane. In the digital world, there's more money generated with attention business, but attention is not what attention is in the human centricity. Attention in human centricity is if I blow myself up to to mate with somebody. That's attention. Yeah, I'm all that, thing. Or I'm threatening you. That's the intention. That says, don't come closer. Don't do more. There's extreme things. The attention on the internet is I can cancel people. I can just like or dislike. There's no there's no consequences to attention other than if you show a lot, it's easy access, but it's really not resolving anything. So I'm not going to mate somebody because I'm not going to get bitten by somebody where I violated their attention. So this shows you that the digital world is almost a fantasy world. Stock too, right? Stock, all the money and all the stuff that runs. That's not real value. That's just made up value. And you can say whatever you want and attract people and they say, oh, I want to be in Dustin's business, and you don't even have a business, but you can say, and that's in the digital world.
Fun fact, I do have a business, but I get what you're saying there. Yeah. It's interesting because the attention world, like you're saying, is what I care about. What's one of my areas of expertise, I would even say. I love digital inbound marketing, that kind of thing, creating content, mainly because there's this information that I want to spread and I want to be able to help people learn. But I was at a broadcasting conference about a month ago, the National Association of Broadcasting, which is like one of the biggest conferences in the US. Yeah. It's like 65,000 people. And one thing I noticed that was really fascinating is that the old style broadcasting world and the content creator digital world, like we're talking about, are starting to merge together. Yeah. The production level of content creators are getting higher and higher, and the attention graph of these broadcasting companies are using social media to distribute what they create, so that there's a merging happening.
I see that. I see it because they have to, because when the money doesn't come from the regular world anymore, the money comes from the digital world. But the thing is, this is not the same money. When you say to me, you've made more money than petrochemicals, I still would choose petrochemicals because it's something tangible. It's from nature. You make plastics out of it, whatever, if you hate it or not, but it is something tangible. And nothing tangible in the digital world. 1% of broadcasters makes 98% of all the podcasting revenues. It's like I was on a show with 280,000 followers, and I was promoted and live interview. 16 people were there. It's all a pretend and lie. It's all pretend and lie. And also, I don't give it crap if they would say we had 1,000 viewers in our, because how can I prove it? I cannot prove the 1,000 viewers. It's like a mind construct.
Yeah, because regardless if there's 16 or 1,000 or 20,000, you don't know for sure because you can't see them.
Exactly, and it has to be the right person. It has not to be many, because I can have 100,000 people that I have nothing to do with and say with. But I have 3 people that I can dance with and be really good with each other, and we can change the world.
Mm-hmm. So going to another question here, what is new art consciousness?
New art consciousness is segregation from the art product and the art creation. What's really valuable is the art creation, and the art product is when it gets into the market, it becomes a commodity like anything else. And when it becomes a commodity, you cannot expect that the magic that you had in creation, that is going to be priced and giving you money for. I mean, you have a magic in creation, your podcast, right? Are you getting paid for that? Yeah. Are you getting paid for that in the same? No, because you enjoy, but you do it and you accept it because you enjoy it, because it gives you so much feedback of who you are, what to do, and your ability. I say, oh my God, I never thought Dustin could do anything, Boom, there you are having all these podcasts, So it gives you self-esteem, not from others, but from yourself. So creation always feeds your own value, your one-on-oneness, because you're not depending on other people. But when artists make the mistake, they push themselves and say, oh, but nobody wants to buy it and nobody wants to pay what I want. That is a complete different thing, because art doesn't ask you to get a lot of money for art. Art just wants to be created. And that is the new art consciousness. It's that we focus on creation, because that it helps in the art creation, helps us in every other creation too, whatever we want to create. to
compounds.
comprehend it, right? Yeah. To comprehend, wow, in the creation, I can do, I see Dustin is doing this. Wow, this is amazing, Not, oh, he has a perfect product and it's going to sell. It has no juice,
Mm-hmm. No oomph to it behind it. I always think about kind of this quotes or video I was watching where these ideas, they came to you and then you're sitting there on your deathbed and these ideas sit in front of you and they're asking like, why didn't you create us? Like we came to you, yeah, but you let us down because you didn't create us in real life.
Yeah, I mean, no, and I think this is, how the universe works. Before the internet, there were the same drugs developed in 4 continents, and there was no interconnection that they could create it. The universe is stopping it. So when they really wanted to create you, they have chosen you. So I think that's a better analysis yeah, they have chosen you. Wow. The universe has chosen me to work on this, and I haven't. That's the thing, not versus, oh, nobody can create it now. Everybody can create it. Anybody can pull that creation in. If the universe wants that creation to be executed, it's either you or somebody else.
It's all about the execution, not the idea itself.
Yeah. And the idea is a spark. It's just a spark. Yeah? It's just that one, oh, I want to do a podcast. You don't know why. It's just, I want to do a podcast. That's the inspiration. So you can do something with that, or you can just deny it and say, "Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, that was a fling, to do a podcast, but I have no desire to go do all the work and all that stuff."
I saw that a lot in 2020, where a lot of podcasts either didn't make it past 60 episodes or 6 months of time, and that was kind of the threshold of people being able to push past the breaking point of like the work of it.
I think there's a lot of podcasts. I think Apple has 3 or 4 million podcasts, and there's only 350 or 380,000 that actually create continuously. Not to, there's 4 million thing, but I think only 380 have produced a podcast in the last year.
Most of them are kind of just dead in the water or in a pausing phase or something like that.
It has to be passion. It has to be passion. If you don't have a passion, it's not going to work.
I mean, that's one reason why I started doing these interviews too, where it's like, I always wanted to do interviews. That inspiration came in. I'd see other people doing interviews and like, I want to do that. Never really knew how to do it. And we ended up talking on Matchmaker.fm, you and I. And that was how I started doing interviews. It just made it easier to connect with people. And I realized how simple it was to just ask somebody through DMs or email later on. But eventually now, this 150 interviews in between the 2 shows, it's a lot farther along. But following that passion and following that inspiration first and foremost was the key.
And also, I think you shouldn't just push out interviews. I mean, I'm going to everybody different. But if you're with your own, if I did my own, I would only do so for example, my Smart of Art podcast is 30 seconds every Saturday.
Yeah.
And I have done about 250 or 254 or something. And I think it's at the end. What I wanted to say is timeless. You can always listen. You can listen in 10 years. It is not something that's outdated. And it's enough. And I think if I had a thing where I just talk to people, I said, I really want to talk to these people. I don't want to just have him on and not really want to talk to him, So, also I don't want to have time force me to do that. So I bring it out whenever I want, because it has been proven that when you do it regularly, it does not do anything, even though everybody tells you. Everybody tells you in any business, if you do the regularity and blah, 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 blah. I want to see a proof. Because I know so many. They have 0 ratings, they have 0 thing, and they put it out every week. They put their podcast out and really do a great job on the creation and everything. But they get into hating it. It's like the artist, My product doesn't sell, so I have this magic. Forget the magic. I need to get a product that sells.
I think that I was lucky in the sense that when I started this show, I wasn't trying to monetize it. I wasn't trying to sell it. And given the topics that we're talking about today, for example, but really any of these interviews, most of the time it's evergreen. The only time I think that we've talked about stuff on this show that weren't evergreen was COVID. But even then, technically, the lessons we talked about could be applied to other areas. So all these episodes doesn't really matter when they go out, per se.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's always good to evergreen. I always focus on humanity, on common denominator, which is never outdated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about a special car, the Tesla, or anything that in 2 years nobody drives it, or somebody else that drives something else.
Right. We're talking about humanity. We're talking about life. I was actually curious too when you brought up your podcast. What was the mindset behind just doing 30 seconds? Because I thought that was interesting.
My neurodiversity, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the editing. It takes me so long anyway to do the 30 seconds. Make the a slide for every episode. And the question and everything uploading. It's the maximum I can do. I can't do more.
Yeah. I don't have that same problem per se, but I do resonate with that because editing is my weakest point when it comes to this. I love doing the research. I love doing the interviews themselves. This is part of what I enjoy in the process. The marketing's pretty fine too. I'm pretty decent at it. But the editing part, that third step, is the one I, most bottlenecked on. I'll sit there for a long time, procrastinate, but I want to get that interview out because of you. You came on the show. You gave me your time. You gave me your ideas and shared with me and the audience. I want to make sure I do right by you, and so that's what's motivated me to get it out all this time.
But most interviewers say they didn't have to change anything because I'm so used to dancing with people. So I'm not saying, "Oh, I don't know. Let me see." That doesn't happen. I can
you're not really doing any filler words like most. No. Not say most, but a lot of people do.
Like. It's like it's like.
Right. Well, like all these simple words. It's interesting though, because even without cutting out the filler parts, I mean, I probably will cut out pauses or something like that if the idea flows better. But generally, I don't necessarily need to edit this too hard, but I do have to do the hook at the beginning where I take 3 highlights of what you said to really draw attention at the start of the call. Cool. Put the intro in, then do the actual editing of the main stuff, the meat of it, and then the outro. Very simple format, but I want to make sure the production level is a little bit higher than just putting the recording on YouTube per se.
Good.
So can you explain some of the idea behind untapped human potential? That's a deep question. I'm curious what you
it's not deep at all. But
it's not deep at all?
No, not at all. The answer is 101 is, how can you see that when I generalize humans, I castrate and neuter every human, every 101 is. So what we actually experience in systems is very limited. It's like, you get the average, the 80% in the middle, and you got to be the average, and that is what rules everything. So the politics are very simple, either or, even though in the humans are all in the middle. I'm a little bit left or right, but I have to choose the extreme right and extreme left. So we are, the moment you say, the moment you have for example, I give you an example right here. When you and I dance, we contribute with our 101ness. Number one, we're not talking system relevant, which party is better, the Republicans or the Democrats, which is a nonsensical, can never end discussion. We're talking about my experience and yours. So my unique life perspective and your unique life perspective. And that's the biggest thing of learning. But also it's the biggest thing of experience. How do you relate to others and to the whole? So you actually can experience our potential growing. That was not too hard.
And it wasn't. I think it's because it comes so simple to you too. Yeah. To me, that question seems kind of deeper, but I guess, the way you explained it, I definitely avoid a lot of the time talking about politics and religion on this show, despite the fact those could generate, a decent amount of conversation. But it's generally because even people who are nonlinear and polymathic sometimes have very strong opinions on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting to think about the way you explained it there. It doesn't really matter which side you're on. What matters is how we're going to progress and how does your unique POV actually get expressed.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's the highest form of learning. Knowledge, you can read all the books, help you, but basically it's very shallow, because if I read all the books about love and I've never felt love, never experienced love, what the books do, zero. And love is one of the highest energies and all this stuff. I can, and this is the stuff, we make words bad. God, everybody believes in God in something, that's why the one of one is always brings you to the essence, because for every one of one human, God is a different experience. And we should talk about your experience with God and my experience with God to learn, get a better perspective of God. Not saying, no, but the Bible says this. No, the Quran says this. No. That's generalization. So even the old super books are outdated because they're talking about humans in general, what humans have to do versus what each 101 has to do in the context of Buddhism, Christianity, or whatever.
And even those books themselves, too, were written by one or two people, and that's coming from their perspective, their understanding.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And one thing you kind of made me think of, especially with kind of the Buddhist mindset, but almost meditation just in general, regardless of practice, is bringing yourself back. Like when you're sitting there trying to meditate and you get a floating thought, the whole idea of meditation is just bringing yourself back and centered. And that kind of goes back to that one-on-oneness.
Yep. Always goes back to one-on-one.
But you're applying that same to other areas.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to answer any question. If you want to see if you actually do it right, answer the question right or not, just think about it, one-on-one nature, blah, blah, blah. And the other one, the system relevant, linear, binary, either or, right or wrong.
Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself? Generally, this is something that you would say at the beginning, but like, what is your history like? Where are you in the world? I didn't actually see a location.
I'm a monkey.
You're a monkey? Me too. Yeah. With the clapping clangs.
Exactly, yeah. I'm that monkey. Yes. So I don't know in what context you mean that. I'm one of one. So see, it's always the answer comes, I'm one of one. So
But what does that mean for you in your own personal historical context?
To put it in,
I mean, you've explained a lot already.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about your history and you as a person.
I like to understand, because of my neurodiversity, and not being able to interact with systems, I wanted to know everything. And I just tell you the energy that goes through in my life. First, I thought I need to know, and then I read before the internet. I read everything to try to be system relevant. And it was very intimidating because there were specialists that know even more than the general things. And because in systems, there can be experts and there can be authorities. When I came to my 52 years old, that realization, it moved me into a system where I say, hey, I just can be with this person. I don't have to have questions or answers ready. I just can be with this person. And especially neurodivergent people know that when they're in the moment, they were much better than when they're preparing stuff and regurgitating, because then the focus is on not making a mistake regurgitating.
Right. That's one reason why when I send the questions ahead of time, I generally don't want people to prepare answers. I only send them in case there's something that you can't talk about, or maybe there's something you don't want to talk about. It's more just for your convenience. But I know you will. But some people might have like an NDA or something like that if it comes to their job or something along those lines, and I may not know about that. So I send those ahead of time. But my point is, I don't want you to prepare because I don't want you to just regurgitate. I want you to be here with me. When we first started the call, it seemed like you were pretty ready to go. I was ready to go. We kind of jumped right in compared to what I might normally do, which would be like have a little chat beforehand. But I was trying to respond to your energy that I could feel like, okay, we're ready. Let's just go ahead and do it. And we just kind of bouncing off like a true conversation and trying to understand who the other person is, which is the beauty of doing interviews like this.
We did, absolutely. And that's why we have 5 senses or 6 senses. 6 senses if you resonate with somebody. And the 6 senses, we have everything by nature given. You don't need to have a computer. Obviously, we need a computer because we have different things with the Zoom. But usually, we are made to interact with every human on this planet. Even when we just do art, we don't have to speak the language. I can do art project together or whatever, and we can totally communicate with each other.
It's that expression that communicates. Even, for example, obviously Van Gogh's one of the most famous artists in the world. And a lot of people resonate with that human being because of the way he was able to express his love and passion and sadness through his pieces. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that comes to mind there. But do you have any particular pieces or art that you've created that really resonates with who you are internally? I mean, obviously everything kind of has been, but anything to stand out in particular?
It's always at the time, or it's like this. Either at the time I love it and I need to, like new food, you want to taste it. Not like, not what I can put in a microwave again, like after it was in the refrigerator and then see. So there's a new food. So how does it taste? You want to taste it. And so how does it look? How does it sound? And the freshness and learning what came through you. And once you do that, then it could be also where I discover something that I did a long time ago, but I haven't looked at it. I haven't enjoyed it. And then I actually enjoyed it and find so many things in it.
It's kind of nice to be able to look back on your old art pieces, even if you're a better artist now, for example. Something about that energy of what you had when you first made it reignites something in you again now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does that.
Do you have any favorite stories about what you've created, or looking back on what you've created?
I have one favorite story. I have an artist, and he sent me a book about hugs. Mm-hmm. He just published a book of hugs, and I read it, and I was really touched because a handshake is a hug. It's just a external. So I really loved it and all the stuff, and then said, how can I do? Because it was so touching, that book was so touching. And I was thinking, how can I do it? I'm going to look at all hugs on Google search. This was 6 years ago. And I did all the searches and I couldn't find, just people hugging in front of the Eiffel Tower. That was it. I want to say, how does it look from above? I want to see that. I couldn't find a single thing from above. And then actually, I had friends of mine hug each other, and I photographed them from the top. And then I looked at that shape, and then I made an art piece, an acrylic painting out of it. In circles and ovals for the heads are, and the circles of the hands and the bodies. And I was literally the first one that painted people from above, hugging from above,
And it's all because you were able to think about it in that 3D perspective too, because you're curious about that particular angle versus the more generic angle. And hugs are very powerful too. They say that just like a 30 or 40-second hug can produce so many beautiful neurochemicals and just connection with somebody.
We are touching. We are touching. We are touching it. We are touching animals. Like animals, they touch each other. They sniff each other. Yeah, we do that.
Well, something I ask all of my guests on the show is, what is a polymath to you?
I have no clue.
No clue.
No.
The show, okay. So, how do I want to explain it? The multi-potentialite movement, octopus movement that Perry talks about, for example, multi-potentialites, the potential to do many different things. Jack of all trades, someone who's done many different things. Generalist, obviously, is one of those things that is pretty widespread. The way you were talking earlier made me think of you more as a Renaissance person, and people think Renaissance and polymath are pretty synonymous for the most part. Polymath is someone with multiple expertise and insatiable curiosity. And with that description, I'm curious to see what comes to your mind, or comes just from your initial gut reaction.
Again, the one-on-oneness, because you can only be passionate all the time when you want to be in context with whatever you explore. So it's the one-on-oneness always.
How does that, I guess, apply to a polymathic life? How can you incorporate it when you're being multidisciplinary and following those multifaceted passions?
You get great ideas. You get great execution. You get great inspiration. Because if I'm a painter and I said there's the visual of a math formula, and I want to do something with that math formula creatively, not in math, but in how it talks to me, it becomes a new artwork, and it's a win-win situation all the time.
I always ask that question because I'm always curious to see what people think about and their own perspective based on that same word. Not everyone knows it, like you didn't necessarily know what the word means, and that's totally okay because I want to understand how your brain.
I still don't know what it means.
It's someone who has 3 or more areas of expertise and an insatiable curiosity.
We all have that.
Well, expertise is a certain threshold. Like you were saying earlier, that a specialist might have a higher threshold. They might be 90th or 100 percentile of knowledge. And expertise for a polymath might be 70 or 80% knowledge, but in 3 or more areas. Whereas a generalist or a minor specialist might be lower at 50% knowledge in an area, if you were to quantify level of understanding. So that's why I like this show, because we get to talk about those different concepts and really dig into the oneness of each person's understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful.
Any thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I think that you are updating the humanity right now, because you're focusing on the one-on-oneness and you not look in generalization. All men should supposed to do this. All women should do this. All jobs should be this. I think you update the humanity. You're very active in updating humanity, because it's awareness that trumps all. Awareness that trumps all, and we are not aware. And we can't even blame people because they're not aware.
Yeah. Like when you didn't know, it was a chance for me to explain, and I was able to share that with you. So I appreciate that opportunity. A simple question here. I saw this and I was just curious what it is. What are micro paintings?
Oh, they were like little, like this tall, like this big. I cut papers, watercolor paper in like this, because I want to do 300. For some reason, I got the 300. And then I put all my colors out. It was actually outside. I put all my colors out. And then just one after the other. I put on green thing, whatever I had. If I ran out of green, I took another green. Just crazy. And I was thinking, I learned a lot of this. It was amazing what I learned from this process. I thought the first 15 are going to be really good. And then the rest, 300 pages. I couldn't even think about 300. I could say, I'm going to be so happy about doing 200. And then when I executed it, actually the most interesting and most powerful painting were the last 50. And I thought I don't even get there, because the flow was so open from all the other ones.
Yeah.
It's just, which you have it everywhere. I bet you talked on your first podcast differently than you talk now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I had to teach myself from the beginning was active listening. And it's hard for me because I like to talk. When you gave me something earlier to say something, I wanted to respond then and there. But no, I have to shut up and listen, because what you're saying is important. I should be taking that in. And that's how we express. If I were to just interrupt you and start saying something, that's going to leave you with a bad experience, and it's going to ruin the flow of the thought. And nowadays, I'm still talkative and I still want to do that, but I'm much better at bringing myself back and focusing on what you're saying and putting that idea off for later. When you did those micro paintings, every single one was different, I take it, because when you first said it, I thought maybe like you were just doing one color per painting and putting the tiles together, but you did individual painting.
Totally. Yeah.
So something that you said that like super resonated with me, because I had a similar experience with 300 in flow.
Yeah.
And my background's more fitness related. And so I wanted to do push-ups. I wanted to do 300 push-ups. At that point, I could do up to 200, maybe 220, struggling. Yeah. But like you said, like I wouldn't even think I could get to 200, let alone 300. And I got to around 240 and my muscles were completely numb because all the lactic acid built up in there. I could not physically extend my arms anymore, even just like in the air, let alone pushing my whole body up. And I looked at the time, and I had a time limit before I had a client and had to go meet, and I had to leave. And this is like the third attempt I tried at doing this. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, no, I'm going to do this. I came here to do this. I'm going to set out and do it. And that last 50 or 60 reps, something kind of clicked, and my body sprung up as if I started from zero once again. And I was able to crank out those last 60 reps in that state of flow. It's one of my most favorite memories of flow too, because of that. So just like you said with the last 50
flow,
paintings,
and
I think it's fascinating.
it's flow, but also it's creativity. It's flowing with the energy, which was you, and mine was you were afraid of losing the energy. I was afraid of losing creativity, and in both
Yeah.
we handled it.
Well, and I love how, because you felt limited at like the amount of ideas. You said like 25 was kind of where you thought you'll kind of end your ideas due to the what's limitation, almost like you were limiting yourself because you had so many in a weird kind of way. Once you got to the last 50, there was an explosion of creativity, and I just think that's fascinating.
Because it was open, the flow was open, the line was open.
Do you think you would have any other projects like that where you'd be able to express in that deep flow state again?
No. I think it's not on my priority list to do that. It's just it was just a challenge that I want to do myself. But I don't think I will unless I said I can do it or I want to do that. Yeah.
Right. I was just curious because I know that you do a lot of different things, and so I was thinking maybe you had something on your mind. I guess finally here, you kind of dabbled on touching on this earlier, but how does art come into play with content creation, and I guess you could say just marketing, digital marketing in general there?
It is the one. It's the one-on-oneness that you express. So even if you do content creation, it's not the company, but it's you. It has to fit in the brand, but it has to be you and the brand, and it can never be only the company and you not. So you are the one-on-one. That's really valuable. And so now you do content creation with that brand. It has to be you and that brand in the context of the brand. And because you're making your thing really strong, the brand actually, it's a win-win. If you do the human-centrically one-on-one is you always win-win. System relevant, you say, hey, content creating, I don't care how it looks. I want the content for this brand. Never works.
Well, I was asking kind of the mindset because my personal brand, PolyInnovator, is just me. It's just my name online. Like you said earlier, I could have Superman as my profile picture. You can do what you want online. I created PolyInnovator to be that. But I'm just curious to think of, I mean, just your various podcasts and interviews and the person you've cultivated yourself to be online. I was just curious how the art mindset kind of falls into that more so. Like you said, you did kind of just explain it, but I don't know if you had any.
The mindset, the art mindset is the one that it's not even mindset. Mindset basically means systemically, because what mindset is human-centrically is awareness. So you want mindset is just the context awareness. So if I'm working in computer chips, in that context, my mindset of computer chips is not my awareness in general, but it is the mindset of my computer chip. So I call mindset awareness. So the awareness in your sports, the awareness in your job that you do or whatever. That's a mindset, but the awareness is for general, for everything. Being aware of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And for example, just being aware that we're in an interview right now, and being aware of like the questions and answers coming.
Back and they come and there's no direction. There's no it's gonna be hard to do this. No, it's just you dance, and you actually observe what comes out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have any more questions here for you, and if you have an idea, I'm happy to extend it. But I think that the best thing to ask is, where can people find you online?
MichaellM.com. Michael with two L's, M.com. And that's all my music, my art, or you put my name into the YouTube. There's 200 episodes on it, and different interviews on it.
I have plenty of links for you down below, including actually the page where you have all your interviews there. What could be a call to action for the audience to do today?
I don't have that. The call of action
Not a call to growth?
I have a tip that the one-on-one is the most important thing they can ever pursue. Whatever that is in business, in jobs, in being a family father, whatever, their one-on-one is the superpower that they have. And they can never generalize yourself as a woman, never generalize it as a man, as a race or anything. You're just one-on-one human. That's it. Your secondary, your race, your gender, whatever. But first you think. And that's perfect.
That's a perfect call to action right there, I think.
Yeah.
Well, this is Dustin and Michael on the Polymath Polycast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for giving me a place where I can paint.
Yeah.